Before I get into the video, I need to do some plugging. Twitter! I just got myself a Twitter account for the very first time ever. A Mr. Rogue's Twitter account. It's linked down below. And I also have a Discord server. Now that I've had for a while. It was started by a fan, Cameo Shadowness, but a lot of people don't seem to know about it for some reason. So I'm plugging it here once again, letting you know that I do have a Discord server. And also now a Twitter account. Both are down below, linked. So, Wonder Woman villains. A ton of people have wanted me to talk about the Wonder Woman villains for a really long time. I've never really done it, besides a couple of obscure, weird rogues. Now, I don't really consider Wonder Woman's rogues gallery to be one of the best. It is a bit weak in my opinion, compared to the rogues galleries of The Flash, Spider-Man, and even Superman. And of course, let's not even compare it to Batman's rogues gallery. That's ridiculous. Nothing compares to Batman's rogues gallery. But despite being a bit weak, there are of course some good members of the rogues gallery. And in this video, I'm going to name the 5 very best ones, in my opinion, of course. This is a personal list, so do keep that in mind. These are my favorite Wonder Woman villains. So there's no point in saying, oh, you should have put this villain on the list and this villain on the list. Well, no, it's my list, you know, it's my personal picks. It's not a definitive list of the scientifically proven best Wonder Woman villains. And, of course, as always, do feel free to write down your own list down in the comments. Do that, instead of just telling me what I should have put on the list instead. Anyway, let's get right into it. Number 5. Number 5 is Ares. Ares, the god of war of Greek mythology, and one of 3 villains often considered to be Wonder Woman's arch nemesis. There is some debate among the fans who is truly her nemesis, and there are 3 candidates for that role, and Ares is one of those 3. Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of Ares, but when I think about it, he is a really good antagonist for Wonder Woman, because she is all about Greek mythology and that kind of stuff. So obviously, the Greek god of war is the perfect foil for her, since, you know, war is something that she's opposed to. So they make for great natural foes. And I do also really like the design for the character. He usually looks really cool with the blue armor and the face all cloaked in shadows, and all you really see are his shining eyes. That's a really cool look for him. And then there is a great moment in the comics with the character that I will never forget. Even though I've only read it once and it's been over a decade ago now since I did that. I haven't read it since. It was in the first arc of the new post-crisis Wonder Woman series by George Perez. The first arc featured Ares as the main villain, and he was trying to start a world war. That's kind of his thing. And anyway, things were looking really bad, and it seemed as if he was going to reach his goal and Wonder Woman was going to lose. But then she managed to defeat him at the very end by showing him the truth. She used her lasso of truth, if I remember correctly. I mean, it must have been, that makes sense. And showed him what it would actually be like if he succeeded with his plan, starting a world war and destroying the entire world. And it just wasn't pretty. He finally saw the end result of what he had been trying to accomplish for so long, and he just didn't really like it. It wasn't what he had expected, I guess. And he just gave up. If I remember correctly, he even shed a tear. I'm probably showing images of it right now so you can see it all. I'm going by memory here, and it's been, like I said, over a decade ago. But that moment still sticks with me. That is one of the greatest comic book villain moments ever. Number 4. Dr. Psycho. A very charming man with a very charming name. When you see this guy, you immediately go, yeah, Dr. Psycho. That's really a name that fits him. Dr. Psycho is a little guy, what are you supposed to say? What is actually accepted? A little person? Midget? I don't know. and he has psionic abilities. He's a metahuman. He can create illusions with his mind, and he can mind control people. He can do a lot of trickery with his mind. And he's a really creepy looking bastard. Dr. Psycho is definitely a standout villain in the Wonder Woman Rogues Gallery. He really sticks out. When you see this guy, he immediately catches your attention. Dr. Psycho is often motivated by a hatred of women because he's been treated pretty badly by women throughout his life due to his physical appearance. Women have been disgusted by him, and you know, rightfully so. I mean, look at him. And they've scorned him and such. And I guess he's never had a gal. So he's grown to greatly dislike women. I guess he's kind of the original incel, maybe? And it's a very creepy and disturbing motivation he's got there going on for him, his misogyny. But at the same time, it also is a bit sympathetic, because he has been treated very badly because of his physical appearance. So you're both creeped out by him, and a tad sympathetic to him, although he is most of the time portrayed as a very sinister, creepy bastard. So that is what he usually is, a creep. And that he is very good at. In a lot of ways, he reminds me of a Batman villain. He's another rogue who feels like he's actually wandered into the wrong rogues gallery, just like Toyman and Ragdoll. But it's nice to have him in the Wonder Woman Rogues Gallery to break it all up from all the magical villains and the mythology-based villains. To have this little creepy guy in a suit with psionic powers. Number 3, the Silver Swan. Now, the Silver Swan is a bit of an overlooked Wonder Woman villain. I wouldn't say she's forgotten, but she's definitely not forgotten. But she is a bit overlooked. She's not as famous as Cheetah and Ares. There's been several Silver Swans in the comics, at least 3 of them. What they all have in common is that they can fly and they have a sonic scream, or a devastating sonic swan song. They sing and they cause a lot of damage with their singing. It's been a while since I really read any Wonder Woman comics, so I'm kind of going by memory with all of these entries. So I might be a tad wrong here and there. Anyway, all versions of Silver Swan are also inspired by the Ugly Duckling fairy tale. They're all 3 of them were kind of either ugly women or just kind of plain looking women who were then transformed into beautiful women when they became the Silver Swan. But of course it came with a price. Now, it's only the 2 first Silver Swans that really matter to me. They're the ones I like. The first was named Helen Alexandros. She was a ballet dancer that was always pushed aside. She was always put in the background of the productions. She was never the lead, because she was kinda ugly, but she always dreamed of being the lead, but she could never get that chance despite the fact being incredibly talented. And long story short, she made a deal with the god Ares, called Mars at the time, it was the pre-crisis continuity, to gain incredible beauty in favor of her also gaining incredible powers, the Silver Swan powers, which she were supposed to use to destroy Ares' arch-nemesis with, Wonder Woman. The second Silver Swan was introduced in the early post-crisis continuity. Her name was Valerie Beaudry. I'm not sure how you pronounce that last name. And she was a horribly deformed woman who was subjected to radiation while she was in the womb. And she came out looking really gnarly and deformed. And she also had latent psionic powers. She was then taken advantage of by a corrupt, crooked, just in general nasty businessman. He wanted to awaken her latent psionic powers and use her as a weapon. And this he did when he turned her into the new Silver Swan. Well, the first Silver Swan in that continuity, since all the old stuff that happened in the pre-crisis continuity didn't really exist anymore. This evil businessman really used and manipulated Valerie. He even began a romantic relationship with her, fooling her into thinking that he actually loved her even before he had her transformed into the beautiful silver swan, that he actually loved her when she was hideous looking. And also that she would basically do whatever he wanted. He wrapped her around his little pinky finger. Valerie eventually reformed though. Helen disappeared when the pre-crisis continuity ended. She just kinda disappeared and only appeared in 1 or 2 stories, and then Valerie was very short-lived as well. Because she reformed, because she was never evil, she was never a villain even. She was just tricked into doing bad things by this evil businessman. He was the villain of the story. So she's a very sympathetic character, the second Silver Swan, but I also find the original to be quite sympathetic as well. They're both sympathetic, and I really like the ugly duckling theme that the character has, going from ugly to incredibly beautiful, but at a cost. Number 2, Circe. Circe is another character from Greek mythology, a goddess who transformed men into animals. She lived on her own island and captured any sailors who came close to the island and turned them into animals. And so naturally she also fits perfectly as an enemy of Wonder Woman. And Circe is another of the 3 candidates for Wonder Woman's arch nemesis. And me personally, I would actually maybe put my money on her and say that Circe is Wonder Woman's nemesis. Even though there is another one who's a lot more popular. But Circe is, she feels like a more personal foe for Wonder Woman. Especially in the post-crisis continuity. In the pre-crisis continuity, she was a pretty minor character. And I don't know what's going on with her now, currently. Post New 52 and Rebirth and all that. I haven't read any of that. But she was very big in the post-crisis continuity. She appeared a lot and in a lot of big storylines. And whenever there was a big storyline in Wonder Woman, it was often her who was behind it all. She was the manipulator. She is a master manipulator. She's always pulling strings here and there, trying to ruin the lives of others, including Wonder Woman and all the other Greek gods. She's always messing about like that. A very deceptive, sneaky woman. She's not really that sympathetic. She's more of one of those villains who's just deliciously evil. And who doesn't like a deliciously evil female villain? I love those kind of villains. Plus, she looks nice. And she has a neat power, turning men into animals. That's quite unique among superhero comics. You don't see a lot of superheroes and supervillains who transforms people into animals. That's kind of unusual. Her whole gripe with Wonder Woman originally stems from the fact that she was told a prophecy, basically, that Wonder Woman was going to destroy her. And so she decided to destroy Wonder Woman first. And that's how their rivalry started. But of course, it's gone way beyond that, and they basically hate each other with a passion. Yeah, I just think that Circe works best as Wonder Woman's arch nemesis. That's my opinion. And now for the final one. Number 1. You can all probably guess who it's gonna be. The Paper Man. Yeah, I'm just kidding again. Cheetah, of course. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the cliche answer on this one and name Cheetah as my favorite Wonder Woman villain. Cheetah is, of course, as most of you know, the most iconic and popular and well-known Wonder Woman villain. She's really the only Wonder Woman villain who's iconic. None of the other ones can really be claimed to be iconic. She's been around in various media for a very long time. She appeared already in the 1970s. In the Super Friends cartoon, that's when her rise to fame really started. And now there's been several Cheetahs throughout the years, as it is with so many comic book villains. But there are 2 main ones. The original, whose name was Priscilla Rich. She was a high society lady and a normal woman, so to speak. She didn't have any actual powers. She just wore a cheetah costume. She did, however, have a split personality, an evil cheetah woman, would come to the surface and take over, and basically force her to commit crimes and attack Wonder Woman, as she was very jealous of all the attention Wonder Woman was getting. Now, I do prefer the other Cheetah, but I do have a soft spot for old Priscilla because of her split personality, and she could be pretty sympathetic at times. There are some stories that portray Priscilla as a good person, who just wants the whole thing to end and wants to stop her evil second personality. And she's even helped out Wonder Woman defeat Cheetah at times. The other Cheetah we're here to talk about is Barbara Ann Minerva, and she has been ever since the post-crisis continuity the main Cheetah. I think she is still to this day the main Cheetah, at least. I don't really keep up with modern comics, as you all know. She was an archaeologist who was obsessed with finding and claiming old relics and all that kind of stuff, and she would travel the world and go on all kinds of crazy adventures into the jungle and stuff to find these ancient relics. And she was a very nasty person too. She would stoop at nothing to get what she wanted. So she was basically an evil Lara Croft. And it was during one of her wacky adventures in the jungle that she gained her powers. She became a magical cheetah woman, or gained the ability to transform into a magical cheetah woman. This was when she came into contact with an ancient tribe that had a magical cheetah woman as their protector or something. It's been so long since I read it. In general, she is a better villain than Priscilla, because, for starters, she's way more fierce and a physical threat because she is an actual cheetah woman. She is incredibly dangerous. Very strong, very agile, very fast, and has sharp claws and teeth and all that. You don't want to be in a hand-to-hand fight with her. She'll rip you to shreds. And she's also more intelligent than Priscilla. And her goals are far grander. She just wants more power and all that, instead of basically just being kind of jealous at Wonder Woman. And of course she looks a lot cooler than Priscilla, because let's be honest here, Priscilla looks a little silly, but in a good way. Silly in a good way, in that old school comic booky way. Her design has a lot of charm to it. But Barbara looks better, of course. And I also feel that she fits in the Wonder Woman Rogues Gallery better because she's magical. I think that Wonder Woman villains in general should be magical, either use magics or even better be based on Greek ancient mythology. Because that's Wonder Woman's thing, and her Rogues Gallery needs to stand out. I mean, we can't just mimic other Rogues Galleries. Each Rogues Gallery needs to have their own identity. And Wonder Woman's it does have that, with magic and Greek mythology. And the Barbara version of Cheetah is a pretty great example of that, because she is an ancient magical being. So there you have it, my 5 favorite Wonder Woman villains. As I said though, I haven't read any Wonder Woman comics in a really long time, so I am going by memory here. And I hope that all the people who have wished for me to talk about Wonder Woman villains for so long are now satisfied. And all the people who are sick of the Arkham sessions, here you have a completely different video, an old school video like I used to do. So I hope you're happy too. Of course, don't forget to write down your own favorites in the comments. And as always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.